Out of Order Gun Rights Podcast, Episode 16.
Welcome to the Out of Order Podcast, your window into the firearms community, exploring those shaping the future of our rights and protecting our lifestyle, laws, legal cases, activism, and self-defense in a candid and honest podcast for our brothers and sisters in arms. Here's your host, James Kalita.
Thanks for tuning in to the Out of Order Gun Rights Podcast. Today's sponsor is the email list. Head over to the show notes page, Out of Order James Kalita /Sean, and find the place there you can sign up for the email list, check out our other sponsors, and also links to Sean's pages. Sean is the founder of Black Bag Resources, host of the Braid Dump podcast, co-host of the Diversity Shoot podcast, Second is for Everyone, and creator of the Angry Otter. And now, here's Sean. Sean Fisher, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, James.
Okay. So, Sean, you started Black Bag Resources. Would you tell us a little bit about that organization?
It's kind of whatever it needs to be. I've always been like the go-to guy and the problem solver and those things. And the business started about 7 years ago because I was frustrated with a lack of customer service in the market. You know, everybody was pushing. There was this big transition from retail stores to online, specifically in the firearms business, with the accessories and the tactical gear and all that stuff. And customer service was really deplorable at the time, and I had gotten annoyed with a couple of the vendors I was buying from. And a buddy of mine was like, well, I'm sick of hearing you complain. Start your own business. And he had been hounding me to start a business for years, and I was like, I really don't want to do that. He goes, but start a business and do it the right way and show me how it's done. And I'm like, well, I'll show you. sucker that I am. Here I am 7 years later, still in business, still chugging along, doing the thing, and trying to bring good customer service to the industry in the way I can. So,
and so that's you have the online site, but you also do training?
I also do training, yeah. And I bring in other instructors too. So I've got, I do primarily the marksmanship training. Tony Simon from Simon Says Train and Second is for Everyone Diversity Shoot. He and I team teach. After I got my NRA certification, he took one of my first classes, got really excited about it, went back and got his NRA instructor cert. So we've been team teaching ever since. I also bring in Mike Wolfert from Justifiable Force to do force-on-force training and a bunch of other stuff because of his background. And then for anything medical related, I bring in Doc Schoenfeld, who is an emergency room doctor with tons and tons of experience on SWAT and all this other stuff. So, yeah, I make it a point to draw from other talent. You know, iron sharpens iron, so it's always good bringing other people in.
Sure, and you managed to find a pro-gun doctor. That's amazing.
Yeah, there's a few of them out there. And Doc is probably one of the most pro-gun. He's really deep into it and very active in the community. Loves it to a degree that a lot of people who call themselves pro-gun don't. Yeah, he's really up to his eyes in it, and he's an excellent resource to have.
Great, wow. And you managed to do all of this in New Jersey, and I've spoken to a few firearms trainers, and you know, having lived and grown up in New Jersey, their reality is very different than ours. What kind of challenges do you face in such a heavily regulated state?
Well, it's a balancing act for me, too, because a couple of years ago I moved the business out of New Jersey and into Pennsylvania. So, of course, I got bit by the freedom bug and went, I want firearms that are restricted in New Jersey and magazines that are restricted in New Jersey and accessories that are restricted in New Jersey. Like, I want all the freedom things. So as an instructor coming from Pennsylvania into New Jersey, I have to be very careful that my Pennsylvania equipment stays in Pennsylvania, and I only bring New Jersey equipment into New Jersey. And, of course, with this recent batch of laws that Governor Murphy passed, that changes everything all over again. But I think the other part of it is making sure your students stay on the right side of the law too. And it can be difficult prepping them to come to a class without giving them the class to prep them for the class. You know what I mean? Like normally a lot of the stuff you would cover in the class has to be covered in advance so that they don't break the law to come to your class. I mean, it's a nasty catch-22 doing anything in New Jersey. And then there's, the limited space, and because it is so restricted, it tends to be very competitive. And some instructors really get into the pissing contest over turf and stuff like that. And that's not how I operate, right? I just kind of go, there's room for everybody in this industry. Everybody brings a different flavor, And as long as they're not doing something really off the rails, I don't mess with anybody, right? Don't start none, won't be none.
Right. And so, you came up with the Minuteman Challenge. What's that event about?
Collaboration with Tony and I, and again, because you've got more than one mind in the process, you come up with better formulas, I think. Tony had been watching YouTube videos from Four Guys Guns and what they call a weekly drill down, and they were using the RE Factor Tactical IQ targets and Dead Man Sands training cards and running those drills, right? And they've got their whole little format that's a lot of fun, but it's really just those guys doing it with each other, right? They go out there and they bang around and they have a good time. And we went, well, why can't we do that as a fun thing to introduce other people into a very low-key but still competitive kind of event? Because I'm not real eager to compete. I don't do IDPA and all that stuff. Like I don't know. That's not what attracts me. But doing something that's fun sucks everybody in. So we came up with that as a concept, and we're still polishing it, a year and a half into it. But we've gotten a good response. And the big thing is we're all about building camaraderie, and that's the biggest thing that comes away from that challenge. Like, there's a lot of guys and shooters that have met each other at our events and then developed friendships and relationships from there and, like, hang out with each other, and it all started with that. My favorite thing about it is if somebody has a really bad run, everybody starts laughing and busting their chops, and it's very, like, sporting and friendly. And if somebody has a great run, everybody's cheering them on. So even though it's competitive, it's like you're all in it together. And it's not uncommon for one competitor to loan another competitor a firearm so they can participate, or, you ran out of ammo, here's a box of ammo so you can finish this drill. Like, it's really, really good. And it's a great bonding experience for everybody that's been involved in it so far.
That's great. And it really sounds like, although it's a competition, it's really about meeting the challenge of being able to, to be a Minuteman, to get ready and to...
And for listeners that aren't familiar with the concept, we put the calendar out for the entire year, but we don't tell you what the class of firearm is going to be until shortly before the event. So, you kind of have an idea of when it's going to happen, and you figure out which one you want to go to. And then the idea is that you can't really prep for it. With IDPA, you know what all the rules are, you know what gun you're going to use, you tune that gun specifically for that competition, you practice those drills, you do all those things, and you go into it fully prepared. With the Minuteman Challenge, and again, because it's more casual.
Oh, sorry, you broke up a little there.
It's not insane either.
And so, a lot of times we'll hear online people outside New Jersey say things like, you guys need to vote and, get the bums out and things like that. And I get the sense sometimes they feel like we're just sitting here and we didn't understand what the electoral process was. But you're active in the 2A community, so would you share some of what your experience has been like trying to change laws and work with pro-gun politicians?
Well, first of all, it's really hard in New Jersey to find a pro-gun politician. They all start off, well, I'm a big supporter of the Second Amendment, but, and everything before the but is always a lie, as our mutual friend Mark Levy is so good at pointing out. So they start off with that, and it sounds real good, and then they go, but I don't feel registration is really a problem, or why does anybody need a high-capacity magazine, or why does anybody need an AR-15? And they frame it as a pro-gun argument, and then follow it with a bunch of anti-gun crap. And those are the pro-gun politicians, or so, like, that's our pro-gun offering. The anti-gun offering starts off with, well, as a socialist, I don't believe anyone should own any kind of firearm. So your option is which flavor of turd sandwich you want.
That's an excellent way of describing it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really not good. So part of the problem, I think, yes, is low voter turnout. Right? The most recent primaries, I think, were 6% turnout. That's abysmal. Especially for primaries, where your vote carries so much more weight. Like, if you showed up with 10 friends from your neighborhood and voted, you probably would have gotten exactly who you wanted in that primary. That's how low voter turnout was.
Yeah, it is shocking, and no matter how much we preach that the primary is the time to go and vote, it seems to fall on deaf ears. And I think that's because so much of the population isn't involved politically. It's not just the 2A side, but all the sides. They're just kind of going around like sheep.
Yeah, it's really abysmal. And I hate to say it, but you get the government you deserve, too. I mean, that's the other part of it. If you don't stay on top of your politicians. But look, the other side of it is, no matter who gets elected, their job is still to represent you. So you should be carpet bombing their office with letters, phone calls, going on nraila.org and using their email system to bombard them with emails so they know exactly what your opinion is, too. And I said that before the presidential election. I didn't care who was elected. They were going to know my opinion anyway. And I've written letters and sent things out. And, sometimes you get the response you want, and sometimes you don't. But at the same time, you have to make your voice heard. And part of that is just staying in their ear.
Agreed. Yeah, because if they hear it enough times from enough people, they at least know that they're going to lose votes if they vote the wrong way.
And I get it, right? It sounds like a lot. What am I supposed to go to the politician's office and give them a piece of my mind? No. All you got to do is get on nraila.org, use their email generator, and fire off that email. It makes it easy. You type up a quick message, you hit send. It's like if you have time to post on Facebook, you have time to message your legislator. There's really no excuse. And since we know, like, way more people are active on Facebook than are messaging their legislators, that needs to change.
Right.
Skip one post. Skip sharing one meme about, I don't have any guns. They all fell in the river.
Right.
Skip that one time today and send them some information that's actually going to help.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And I think about it, we probably know more people that were active about guns on Facebook than voted.
For sure. Listen, I put out a coupon code, right, because we've got the new 10-round magazine restriction hitting New Jersey. Again, I'm a Pennsylvania-based business, and I pointed out just for laughs and whatever else, why should you order from a company in Pennsylvania New Jersey compliant magazine? My argument is because the New Jersey government that's oppressing you will not get 1 penny of sales tax generated from that purchase.
Yep.
Right? So you're starving them out in the process too. Yeah, you're complying with the law, but you're starving them on the sales tax portion of it. So you've got that come through, but at the same time, everybody's running their mouths about it. Well, here's the other thing, and I hate to kind of poke the bear this way, but now I have a list of people who have ordered magazines from me, and I'm comparing that to who I see yelling and screaming online, and I'm comparing that to who I see at rallies and who I see at events, and there's a brutal dichotomy there of non-participation in some other things.
Sure. Yep.
So if you bought magazines from me, guess what? You're going on my mailing list.
There you go. Yep.
You can unsubscribe later, but you're going to hear from me.
Right. Yep. Must come to the rally. Yep. All right. So the people in Pennsylvania, the other side of it, right, and I guess the rest of the country, we get the sense from them that they they don't think it could happen there. And, you know,
there are bills in Harrisburg right now that almost identically mirror the package of bills that was just passed in New Jersey. Magazine restrictions, the firearms restraining orders, just all of that shenanigans. Banning armor-piercing ammunition that's already banned on the federal level. Anti-gunners are rabid. They never back off. They never back down. They never go away. You are never safe, right? And this is what I said to everybody who was celebrating when Trump won the presidential election. This is not the time to celebrate. This is the time to shift from defense to offense, right? We've heard from Republicans for the last 8.5 years, well, if we had the presidency, we'd be able to do more. If we had the House, we'd be able to do more. If we had the Senate, we'd be able to do more. Well, now you swept everything. National reciprocity should have been done in the first 30 days. I don't know why it was even a discussion. You had everything you needed to railroad it through, and you didn't do it. So, and this is something I said up front, right? And I'm sure this is going to piss off some people on the right wing, and maybe I'll be how you get your first hate mail. But if they don't get off their butts and do what they've been talking about for the last 10 years, that they needed all this stuff, well, now you've got it all. If you don't do it now, you will poison the party for the next 100 years. Get off your butts and get some stuff done. Or admit it was all just hot air.
Yeah, and that's really true because, you know, you think they have all of the, like where, if it comes down to, you know, guns or gay marriage or guns and marijuana, I have a feeling we're going to lose. Right? If that's what it comes down to in the next election. And so, you know, if the Republicans don't even have guns, what's left of that party? Like, you know, they're not, you know, not to, I will get hate mail now for saying that. But when you think about like in different voters, you know, like those are the three hot button issues. If we're not going to take a stand, even on guns, then, you know, who are we expecting to come out and vote?
Yeah, and there's a couple of things that I find kind of weird about the political scene, right? First of all, I don't understand why anybody is against private ownership of guns, right? We've heard for the last 2 years that from the left that Trump is literally Hitler. Trump is the worst fascist on the planet. And then in their next breath, they go, well, we want him to pass laws so that he'll be in charge of all the guns. What could possibly go wrong of putting, quote unquote, literally Hitler in charge of all the guns? Yeah, that makes no sense to me. They make the argument that law enforcement is corrupt and abuses minorities, and that's why only law enforcement should have guns. That makes no sense to me. On a positive side, I've seen a lot of millennials, right? And I'm talking actual millennials, not high schoolers right now. High schoolers are post-millennial. That's a whole other generation. But millennials right now are so pro-gun, it's blowing my generation out of the water. They're the ones coming out with every gun law is an infringement, right? I've heard arguments from millennials saying, well, why can't convicted felons have their rights reinstated? If they serve their time and they're ready to be released back into society, either they're ready to be back in society or they shouldn't be walking around.
Yeah, right. And especially since we know if they can get guns because they're willing to break the law, right? Because gun control doesn't work. And
yeah, they're going after the false narrative in a way that, I'll be honest, my generation doesn't fully understand. And we're going to see new arguments coming from them that are amazing. They are fully on board with like repealing the NFA. They want full auto. They want silencers. They want it all. They want it all. And that next fight for the Second Amendment is going to be on a level that our generation doesn't understand. Our generation is still caught up in like thugs who just want to keep their pump-action shotgun and bolt-action rifle versus, you know, tactical Timmies like me that want ARs and AKs and all that cool guy stuff. The millennials are on a whole different level. It's a completely different argument for them, and it's going to reshape this whole discussion in a very different way. That I'll be honest, I'm pretty excited about because they're pushing it. They're looking to push a lot further than we ever did.
Which is refreshing because if we're not on the offensive, then we're just going to keep losing our rights a little slice at a time.
Right, and they've proven that, right? We've been warned about the slippery slope for, I don't know, forever, as long as I can remember. And nobody was really willing to point out actual, factual, historical representations of that incrementalism. And we're seeing it now, right? People have pointed out from the 1900s all the way through to current how many gun laws have been passed. New Jersey's a perfect example, right? They forced registration on M1 carbines, and the next step was they went and confiscated M1 carbines. They forced a assault weapons ban that included a magazine capacity restriction. Well, we were told in 1992 that New Jersey would become a crime-free utopia if all we did was limit magazine capacity to 15 rounds.
Right.
And they just passed the law saying, well, 15 rounds is too many. So you reduced the capacity magazine, suddenly with the stroke of a pen became a high-capacity magazine, and that's a problem with obtuse terminology. And now 10 rounds is the new limit. So how do you ask for a 10-round magazine restriction in a state that already has a 15-round magazine restriction without admitting that all magazine restrictions are BS?
Yeah. Or just at the very least, you have just confirmed the slippery slope. Like, you told us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's undeniable at that point. Like, how do you even argue against it?
Yeah.
Personally, I think anybody who asks for that magazine restriction should be embarrassed, not emboldened.
Right. Yeah.
Lou Greenwald, Loretta Weinberg, all those people should be hanging their heads in shame, because the first step of that bill should have been, yes, we were wrong about the 15-round magazine restriction. We were dead wrong. It did nothing. It was ineffective.
Right.
And at that point, you should reverse course. No, they're doubling down on stupid.
Yep. Yeah. But and there's still that bill out there for the 5-round limit. So, you know,
Of course it is. Of course
right.
it is.
which kind of works to our advantage, right? Until it passes, we can say, you know, look, they went from 15, 10, and there's a bill for 5, so we know where this is going. So
They push the 5-round every couple of years too, and this is the other thing. So I got to go after our side again for a minute. Like, everybody's mad right now, going, you know, from like, you're gonna get my 15-round magazine from my cold dead hands. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You've already been neutered, and you're complaining that you won't be neutered any further.
Right, because if they were really going to buy it from your cold dead hands, you would have driven 50 miles and, you know, bought a 30-round mag.
Back in '92,
yeah.
you should have been. You should be hoarse right now from screaming since '92.
And we talk about, you know, that eventually they'll push us too far, but we have the protests and the rallies, and, you know, the police say no sticks, right? You can't have signs on sticks. And I often wonder if that's like a test, you know? Like,
yeah, I think it is.
You know, like, you're not going to take my magazines, but I can't have a stick, okay? You know, like, that's the ultimate disarmament. Like, even in the Philippines, right? They always had sticks. You know?
Yeah, man. Mullen stick.
Yeah.
New Jersey is going to disarm you so far that you literally can't have a pointed stick.
Yep.
There it is. It's already happened, right? And then you hear the argument, oh, well, you know, there's oath keepers in law enforcement. Yeah, show up to a rally with a pointed stick.
Right. Yep.
But this is part of the problem with the entire argument too, is they paint us into a corner. And because we are genuinely good people, right? We have no intent to harm anyone. We comply with absurd requirements. We jump through hoops like trained animals, because our goal is to not do harm, right? I really feel like most gun owners, their first priority is do no harm.
Yeah.
And the other side uses that against us. We're going to push you so far that the only reasonable response is fighting back. But if you fight back, now you're in the wrong.
Exactly. And that's the, you know, and, you know, it's kind of, you know, it's that catch-22, but it's also the catch-22 to if you prepare and train for that inevitable fight. Well, now you're wrong and you're paranoid and mentally ill, so we're going to take your guns away.
And you're a conspiracy theorist, and one of those people, and tinfoil, and right, you got to hear all that stuff. In the meantime, take a look at how many riots, large-scale riots, there have been in the last 20 years, right? But if you're preparing for any kind of widespread violence, you're paranoid.
Right.
Come on, man. Just go through the last 10 years, right? And look at New Jersey as a perfect example. Superstorm Sandy hit, and all of a sudden people were punching each other in the face over gasoline.
Right. Yeah. That was one more day away from getting really bad.
Listen, I was living in Somerville at the time, and it was right there in my neighborhood. I watched fights break out. You know, as soon as the sun went down, it was like you were on the dark side of the moon. There were people coming through, testing doors on storefronts, because I lived right on Main Street, right? It's fairly commercial. There's a lot of small shops and stuff. And there were people checking, oh, well, the power's off, but the alarm's not working.
Yep.
Shop owners got wise real quick and set up generators and put lights on all night just to keep that element away. But as soon as there's cover of darkness, people start doing shady stuff. But you're paranoid if you think you need to protect yourself from known and obvious threats to your safety.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing, right? With the whole justifiable need in New Jersey, the way that's worded is you have to be attacked. So the government has to fail to protect you, and then you have to ask the government for permission to protect yourself after they failed you, and they'll probably still deny you the opportunity to protect yourself, and then offer you no additional protection from them.
Right. And on the best day, it's a 90-day process. So if you're really under threat, a unique and imminent threat,
clear presentation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You're not going to live long enough to get your permit. So
it's hard enough waiting like the 3 to 15 minutes it takes for law enforcement to get there when you call 911. And New Jersey's response is, yeah, that's terrible. Waiting 3 months.
Right. Yep.
15 minutes might get you killed. We're going to make you wait 90 days.
Yeah. So, Sean, I asked all my guests if there were any pro-liberty, pro-gun books you feel like all gun owners should read. Any recommendations?
I don't know that it's necessarily a pro-gun book, but one of the ones I really enjoyed was The Gift of Fear by Gavin DeBecker. And he was, or is, a threat analysis expert, and he worked on a lot of stuff, right? And his forward in the book talks about, how America is awash in guns, readily availability of firearms is part of the problem. So he's probably anti-gun, but if you break down his approach on risk assessment and threat interdiction and all those things, and he worked on the Clinton campaign, so he's very good at analyzing data, and specifically using that to predict behaviors. Fascinating book, very intellectual approach, does a lot of case study stuff that's really, really good, and I think incredibly invaluable for anyone with like a preparedness or self-defense mindset. Just ignore that first page where he says stupid anti-gun stuff, and then reframe it in your own mind to help you.
All right, great. And where can people find you online? Where should they go and look for you?
Blackbagresources.com, probably first and foremost. I am terrible about answering the phone because my day job generally requires that I can't take phone calls, and that's why it's taken, about 3 weeks just to get this recorded with you, for which I apologize.
No,
it sucks.
I had technical difficulties too, so it's all good. Thank you for bearing with me.
But yeah, blackbagresources.com, minutemanchallenge.com. Certainly check out 2A4E. Second is for everyone, Diversity Shoot. You can find us all over social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. Yeah, and I've always got my hand in multiple things. I'm like an octopus. I'm always got several irons in the fire. But I do, if someone comes to me, whether it's military, law enforcement, or just a private citizen, I try to give you the best degree of customer service possible, and make sure that you're not wasting money on something that isn't actually going to help you. I talk customers out of sales all the time. I pride myself on being a terrible salesperson, and just a really good resource. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. Any parting words for our listeners?
If you listen to me on any of the other podcasts, this is probably the one you're waiting for. Bye, Felicia. Thanks, James. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Keep up the great work, and congratulations on the new podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Out of Order Gun Rights Podcast. Please head over to the show notes page, Out of Order James Kalita /Sean, to find links to Sean's pages and our sponsors. Please remember to sign up for the email list so that we can maintain communication when we are thrown off of the social networks. Till next time, Out of Order James Kalita.